What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about it. And in this video, I want to talk about a major event that happened in my life on December 10th, 2022. This is a video about my experience of a major police brutality case that the media does not want to talk about. This event has seriously changed my life, and this video has been 30 months in the making. This is a police brutality case that the major news and media outlets refuse to talk about. I've reached out to CBC, Fifth Estate, CTV News, the Toronto Star, the Toronto Sun, and Rebel News, just to name a few. Surprisingly, they all refuse to talk to me. But what I will get into is that I have been fortunate that one of the media outlets have shared my story, and that's what really matters. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has who's here watching this video. This is not easy for me to talk about, considering all of the, I'm just going to say, the corruption, the downplaying, the unprofessional, the lack of accountability that I've been up against. And, I have nothing to gain to mislead the public. I have nothing to gain to bash anybody. I want the public to know about this situation that I'm in. And the police brutality case that I'm involved in, the officer is Constable Evan Gorman of the Rama Police. So on December 10th, 2022, I was at Casino Rama, and I was asked to leave. So there was a junior security guard, Hayden Kennedy, and then there was eventually there were three senior security guards that eventually joined, and one of them was Wayne Haville, and another one was Dale, so these officers came up to me, these security guards. They had asked me to leave, and let me tell you guys something else. Is that I was falsely arrested. Ultimately, this police brutality case that's led into a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So I was asked to leave. And you guys the public is eventually going to see my disclosure, and they're eventually going to see the surveillance footage, the carefully selected and footage that was combed through to try to accommodate these false allegations. So I was asked to leave, and you can see in the surveillance within 2 minutes, I'm leaving towards the exit. In fact, you can see in the surveillance video, when they asked me to leave, it goes to another video, and you can see me up in one corner going all the way down to this corner. It was like 100 feet I had walked out. I'm trying to go to the entrance, and then you see me in the surveillance, and I was talking to the three senior security guards civilly while walking towards the exit. There was no issues. But it wasn't until the junior security guard, Hayden Kennedy, who was provoking me at times with his comments. And there was like 2 or 3 times where he kind of spoke up, and then it got to the point where I turned around and we got into a verbal spat. They assaulted me. They tackled me. They falsely accused me of biting one of the security guards, which was, I believe, Wayne Haville. And then Hayden Kennedy, who's about 230 pounds at the time, maybe more, if he sat on my back for 10 minutes, suffocating me. I couldn't breathe. which is all can be seen on surveillance. I felt like I was being suffocated. Hayden Kennedy was pushing on my head so hard that he ripped and disfigured my ear. It's droopy. Still to this day, it's droopy. And so, Wayne Haville lied about me biting him and provided a picture alleging I bit him. When you guys see this picture, you're going to know right away that it is not a human bite mark. It is definitely not from me, because I did not bite anybody. And the picture, it obviously looks like something like an animal bit him with fang. It looks like 2 fang punctures on his hand. Excuse me. And it's forensically useless. The way they took the picture, there's no measure, there's no ruler to measure the teeth bite marks. Like, honestly, I never bit anybody. And I have had to go to the lengths of figuring out on my own about these odontologists, which are forensic dentists. And I have a forensic dentist on standby if this matter goes to a trial to testify that these are phony pictures. This is straight up perjury, and this is submitting perjury. Like you're saying under oath that I bit you. And the other thing too is that I've been told by this forensic dentist is that with the bite, anytime you puncture somebody's skin, you're going to be raising your hand, yelling in pain, especially with your skin being punctured. That is not observed in any of the surveillance. This security guard is straight up lying. And I can't believe how foolish they are to even try to go this route, because they're trying to justify the beating they gave me on surveillance. And then this is where things take a turn. So this is where I am met by Rama police officer, Constable Evan Gorman. And you can see Gorman on the surveillance. He's standing on me with 1 foot, looking like Captain Morgan on a rum bottle, which was unnecessary. And then this officer decides I'm already handcuffed. My wrists are handcuffed from Hayden Kennedy. And then Constable Gorman, Evan Gorman, he decides to handcuff my ankles. So my ear's bleeding. I'm handcuffed. My ankles are handcuffed. He picks me up. They hogtie me. They pick me up, and I'm bleeding so bad that they end up putting a hoodie. And because of this alleged biting, they put the hoodie over not only my eyes, but my mouth. And they grabbed a hoodie. You can see on camera. So I was hogtied, and I was blindfolded, and I was suffocated. And then I was dragged out of the casino. And this happened at Casino Rama. In excruciating pain, being yelled at to stop resisting arrest when I couldn't walk, see, or breathe. These officers doing this to me caused significant nerve damage in my wrist, which I'll get into the injuries later. So if this isn't bad enough, I'm getting dragged out of the casino, I'm blindfolded, I'm hogtied, I'm bleeding. Constable Evan Gorman decides to drive my head hard into the concrete on surveillance. So if it isn't bad enough that I'm being dragged out, in this manner, hogtied, blindfolded, he drives my head into the concrete. This officer, in my disclosures, got multiple reasons why this happened. But he's saying that I bit him, and I never did. In fact, he was seen by a paramedic, no injuries, took a day off of work, went to see a doctor, didn't get any paperwork saying that he's anything. He provided zero evidence of these false allegations to try to justify driving my head into the concrete. He continues to drag me out of the casino with another officer. They drag me outside. Gorman is yelling at me to get into the SUV, which you can see on surveillance, and there's only one camera. There's one camera facing the SUV, and you don't see what's happening behind the SUV, where he's yelling at me to get in the SUV. I'm still hogtied. I'm injured. I'm in excruciating pain. He eventually throws me in, pushes me in hard to the back of the SUV, comes around the other side and grabs me and pulls me across the chairs, and then slams the door inches from my head, almost giving me another head injury. There, you can see in surveillance, they are talking about it. They think they're a bunch of heroes. Like, I'm the bad guy, and, I'm sitting injured in the back. They don't even offer me any medical help. I'm the one that's injured, and this cop is playing like he's been injured. The security guards playing like he injured. They lied and said I bit them when I never did. We're driving now. We end up going to the OPP Aurelia detachment. And this is something that no one is talking about, and that they're refusing to talk about. So while we're driving, I'm still hogtied. I have no seatbelt on. There's no camera on. I'm in excruciating pain. I ask Constable Gorman politely if he can loosen the handcuffs. He ignored me. I asked him again, and that's when Constable Gorman sped 20 to 30 kilometers faster, slammed on the brakes, and my head hit the glass divider, knocking me unconscious briefly. We get to this Aurelia, the OPP detachment station. Gorman puts a spit mask on me. I'm yelping. I'm in excruciating pain. I've got, later I find out, serious nerve damage. I've got a serious head injury. My teeth are chipped. I'm all cut up. My ears ripped, disfigured, bleeding. They put a spit mask on me, and he roughly again drags me into the detachment. That's where I'm greeted by 8 to 10 OPP officers, and they were big officers. They were ready to pounce on me because of this misleading and false information that the casino and Rama police have provided. He's yelling at me, and it honestly felt like my hands were broken. So I get in there, they loosen, they take off, they're like, if you do anything, we're going to mess you up. They take off the handcuffs. I'm in relief that the handcuffs are off me finally. And then that's where Sergeant Leslie Legase walks me to a holding cell. And this officer was following us the whole time. So he would have witnessed speeding up and slamming on the brakes and seeing the red the brake lights. Okay? This sergeant, as we're walking to the holding cell, he says to me, quote unquote, the OPP did not injure you and they did not do this to you. And I said, I know the OPP didn't do this to me. At this point, I really don't know. Rama Police, OPP. I thought they're under the same toolage. Rama Police is its own police unit. But what confuses me is that the OPP provides training, provides SUVs, provides emails, this and that. And it's like, but the OPP is not responsible for Rama Police. But they're responsible for every other policing unit in the province. So I'm sitting in the holding cell. I could feel and see the blood coming down. I'm in severe discomfort. I'm injured. At no point did anyone offer me medical attention. I had to tap on the glass. No one came. Tapped on the glass a little bit later on. Sergeant Legase comes around and says to me, I say to him, I need medical attention. And he says to me, you need medical attention? And I remember saying, look at me, what do you think? And so that's when he arranged the paramedics to take me to the hospital, the Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital. And I was never told that while I was arrested, and I was never given the chance to talk to a lawyer by Gorman at any point. So at the hospital, I get there. I'm greeted by a nurse, Jennifer Stewart. This nurse gave me a rough assessment. This nurse straight up lied on my chart. This nurse asked me how much pain am I in on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst. I said a 9. She ends up writing down a 5. She also wrote on my chart, no head injuries, and also, meanwhile, I had a bump on my forehead. I had a cocoa on my forehead from getting driven into the concrete. I'm there for nerve damage, a head injury. And then she said, she took a picture of my ear that was all swollen. I'll show you guys. You can still see it was bleeding. She put on my chart it was dried blood. This nurse straight up lied on my chart. The patient relation department protected her. The staff chief protected her. The College of Nurses protected her. The HPARP protected her. This nurse straight up abused her powers of a nurse, and she lied on my chart to protect this officer. She did. And then I was then eventually seen by Dr. David Evans. This doctor refused to do any testing on me. He refused to do any ultrasounds. He refused to do any neurological testing. He didn't test my concussion. He wrote on paper I had a concussion. And then out of all the complaints I filed, 1 out of 20 or whatever it was the College of Physicians and Surgeons Ontario against this doctor. And they disciplined him for not doing any neurological testing. After the CPSO, they seen the testing I provided with the nerve damage I had. So they disciplined him for not doing any neurological testing. This doctor allowed, while I'm still handcuffed, I'm calm, I'm trying to get help for a head injury. This doctor allows Gorman to barge into the patient room that I'm with, and he starts rambling on and manipulating events that never happened. And he manipulated that doctor that, I bit him, I bit the security guard, I did this, I did that. Gorman was panicking because Gorman knows, you could see how badly I was injured. So because of this, right, I get improperly discharged from the Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital. And I am told to leave the waiting room while I'm waiting for a taxi. I got no reception. I'm trying to get from Aurelia to Burlington now. I'm told by this nurse, Jennifer Stewart, to leave the hospital and to wait outside of the hospital in the blizzard. I believe that they improperly discharged me, and it's pretty evident. So the SIU wouldn't be called and they wouldn't investigate. And I should have never left that hospital when the injuries I sustained and the medical testing that I did that I still am doing, but the next following year, there were substantial injuries done to me. And that hospital was negligent for releasing me properly, and they got off scot-free, and with no accountability. I was given 10 charges, 10 phony charges. And when Gorman handed me those charges, he said, "Merry Christmas." The following day, I went to the Burlington Joseph Brant Hospital. They confirmed I had a concussion. I eventually got neurological testing on my wrist. The testing came back that there was severe nerve damage. My left ear was ripped and disfigured, and now is permanently droopy. It's actually the left one, and you can kind of see it, right? Like this one's raised up. This is droopy. They altered my appearance with this excessive force. My left elbow has never been the same. It's honestly trashed. And the 30 sessions of physio I've done is just scar tissue. When Hayden Kennedy ripped my arm back, like the way he did it, put it back to handcuff me, there's something in here that's never healed. I have had MRIs done. I've had ultrasounds. There's injuries that they have found. There's nerve damage. There's something going on here that's never fully healed. My 2 front teeth got chipped. And basically my left hand's it's regularly in pain and it's limited. I could not work for 10 months because it became a full-time job rehabilitating. It's a lifetime job now, rehabilitating and being very mindful. I lost a substantial amount of income and I lost pretty much all my savings. I practically lost everything and I was close to losing everything. I reached out to Casino Rama's head security, Carrie Dunn. She wasn't helpful, obviously. They gave me selective camera angles to support their phony narratives. I got mistakenly included in an email from Robert Dalton of Gateway Casinos at the time, asking Miss Dunn, just checking in to make sure we never heard back from Mr. Dobson. I responded to him that yeah, they did, and I'm pretty sure he was shocked about that email because I never heard back from them. Rama Police Inspector Tom Batiste and their police chief refused to accept a complaint about Gorman. The Rama Police Board was not helpful. Sarah Snake was on the board at that time, and she was very rude to me at all times dealing with her. They were not helpful at all, the police board. I reached out to the OPP commissioner and the OPP Professional Standards Bureau, and it was like pulling teeth with them, getting any help. I eventually, for being so persistent, I eventually get a call from OPP officer Kevin Allen, who eventually reaches out to me to offer assistance. Speaking with this officer, it honestly gave me hope that the OPP would step in and help, but ultimately they did nothing other than make Rama Police Chief do an investigation about the assaults I received, the injury, and the hospitalization I received from his officers. It took the police chief 90 days to investigate, only to dismiss my complaint. He did not properly answer to the unprofessional conduct of Constable Gorman. He did not comment about the injuries I sustained during transportation. The freedom of information, I reached out to them to get this information. They didn't have jurisdiction. They sent me to, is it Caitlin Watson from the Rama Police Freedom of Information. They refused to release the information. I then appealed it with the IPOC or one of their IPCO, or an organization you can appeal freedom of information. They provided some hope to me as well, but ultimately, like the OPP, they just they didn't have jurisdiction. So the Rama Police is hiding. I wanted to figure out how the police chief came to this determination to dismiss my complaint, and I wanted to know how they investigated it, and they refused to release any information because it could impact the officer's employment, where technically this officer should have lost his job many years ago when he was charged for assaulting a child. And I'm going to get into that information. So I filed a private prosecution against Gorman, Evan Gorman, and Hayden Kennedy in February of 2023. And in May of 2023, so here's the thing. I reached out to the Barrie Crown's office. They reassured me, oh yeah, just because the police officer charged you, you can still charge them, which I did. I went up to the Barry that one day. Oh, just come up. We got to sign something. They made me wait, the Barry Crowns, 2 hours to sign something that took me 2 minutes. They made me and a friend wait in that hallway, which I thought was, you know, that was not okay. That was not cool. You telling me to drive up from Burlington to Barry just to sign off something, right? And then they just kind of dick me around. So we get in front of Justice Walters, I believe it was, and Crown Attorney Jennifer Armanese, which was fighting extremely hard against me. So when we were at that hearing that day, I guess to try to persuade this judge to accept this information, Jennifer Armanese just was not nice, and she was protecting this officer like you wouldn't believe. And that's going to be a whole video in itself, dealing with the Barry Crown with this private prosecution, and just the different events that came out of that. So she was just like so difficult. Like I got assaulted, injured, and hospitalized. You got a Crown attorney that's protecting and fighting for this officer and fighting tooth and nail to persuade this judge, this justice, I believe, Justice Walters, to not lay the charges. She made comments like, "Oh, Mr. Dobson has a criminal record." So does that make it okay for my head to get driven into the concrete and be put in the hospital because I got a criminal record? She asked me for a couple documents. I emailed her. I sent her the additional stuff of the pictures of my injuries, and she lost it on me to stop sending additional stuff. What I saw that day from this Crown attorney was very shocking and disturbing, to say the least. Ultimately, Justice Walters accepts the charges, and shortly after this, they assign Crown attorney Frank Giordano from the Newmarket office. And they try to play it out like there was no relation, because this isn't Barry. Now they've got a Crown from Newmarket, so it's a non-biased, it's an impartial handling. It was far from that. This Crown ignored me, ignored my emails, never reached out to me. He just ignored me. This is a Crown that's supposed to be working for me, and they work for, he just protected this officer. This Crown acted as Gorman's lawyer, and after 2 appearances, he requested for the charges to be dismissed. I have the court transcripts from the May 30th appearance, 2023, and then the June 20th appearance. And it is evident from these transcripts that this Crown attorney acted as counsel and protected an officer who, yet again, assaulted, injured, and hospitalized someone he is wrongfully detained. Hayden Kennedy, his lawyer was Ted Ioannou, and I always wondered, did Kennedy actually even pay for this lawyer? Or did the Crown's office ask Mr. Ioannou for a favor? I am convinced Kennedy never paid this lawyer any money. I just think they, if you look at when these Crown attorneys became lawyers back in the day, 30 years more or less, I think there's some type of relationship or they've worked together in the past. And I think they've done this was some type of shady business behind the scenes. So that's something I would like to know, whether Hayden Kennedy did in fact pay for this lawyer or not. And so a few months back in December of 2023, after waiting 70 days to get my disclosure, I retained Sehi Park, a criminal lawyer from Hicks and Adams. This lawyer eventually schedules a trial in June of 2023 for October 17th, 24th, and 28th in Orillia for October 2024. I never understood this spacing out of scheduling for a trial like mine, clearly to me, that gave me an impression that this lawyer wasn't even going to be there at the trial. She just said, whatever the earliest dates are. This was like the earliest dates from the Crown. And the Crown kind of, who gives out 3 spaced out charges like this? This is just like making the case more difficult, in my opinion. Sehi Park schedules this trial in June of 2023 and then quit the law firm shortly after. If you look at her LinkedIn profile, it says August. It was before then. She got off of my file in June. June or July, she was off. So I think that information is false about when she quit the law firm, when she started working for, so she eventually started to work for the Crown Attorney. She quit the law firm and she started to work for the Scarborough Crown Attorney as an assistant Crown Attorney. And if you look at the dates, she screwed me over. She schedules me a trial. A couple weeks later, she's off my case, and now she's working for the Crown's office. This tells me this lawyer did not have my best interest. And I don't appreciate that this lawyer even wasted my time like this and handled it. My file eventually gets passed to another junior lawyer, William Deck. And to be honest, there was nothing but problems with this lawyer too. Giving me attitude. This lawyer in Sehi Park did not even have the decency. They didn't have the common sense that the pictures I had were bogus of these alleged bite marks. And these 2 lawyers who go to law school didn't even ever suggest about getting a forensic dentist. I was the one who figured this out. And I was the one who consulted with the forensic dentist who's now on standby. It was a disaster retaining this law firm, Hicks and Adams. It's a revolving door. And if anyone out there knows this law firm, they really deal with particular type of crimes. And I really had no business getting with this law firm, but it did happen. Moving along now, this lawyer, William Deck, he has a conversation with the assigned Crown Attorney, Neil Riley. And Neil Riley laughed at the theory about this bite mark being from an animal or something from a fang bite marks. If you guys don't know, if you get bitten by a human, there are upper and lower impressions. The 1 or 2 photos that are in my disclosure are 2 fang-like puncture wounds. There's nothing underneath. I didn't bite anybody. Okay? So this Crown is trying to be funny and is trying to finesse this junior lawyer. Oh, we're not accepting this information. This Crown Attorney has been a Crown Attorney for almost 15 years. A lawyer, Crown Attorney. You're telling me in the 15 years that you've been a lawyer, you've never came across an alleged assault from a bite mark? You don't know about the forensic ruler? You don't know about the upper and lower impressions? So this lawyer didn't fight for me. And there was a conversation about my 2 provincial charges, being intoxicated in a public place and trespassing, possibly be married up. I never agreed to that, nor did my lawyer. So this lawyer, this Crown Attorney took it upon himself to marry up the charges, which we never requested for. And I can show you guys the emails from my lawyer and the Crown Attorney. If this lawyer did anything good that I know of, he did, he did reach out to the Barrie Crown's office to try to get those charges put back in the provincial court. And they just played games with me for 6 months. It was a nightmare dealing with the Crown, the Barrie Crown's office for 6 months, trying to get my provincial charges back in provincial court. There were 6 months of emails, and then they turn it around on me like I'm the problem. They refused to simply get me back in criminal court, and it was June sorry, it was January 1st, I got rid of Hicks and Adams, and I got rid of this lawyer. So I'm self-represented dealing with this office. All they had to do was schedule me to get back in criminal court, to get me back in provincial court, to schedule a trial. That they took away. I had a trial scheduled October 30th, 2023 for the provincial stuff, which I nailed it. I killed it. It was a charter right breach. So they just played games with me. And so this is now I want to talk about where I found out that Constable Evan Gorman, he was charged for assaulting, injuring an 11-year-old in 2017. I'm going to back it up a bit. Those provincial charges, I eventually, after pulling teeth with this Crown's office, I get it back in the provincial court, and those charges got dismissed. They got dismissed. So after I got out, I got out of this hospital, and I was talking to Sergeant Legaze because he said he was going to help me. We're going back now to January 2023. He said he was going to help me, and he never did. He reneged stuff he said he was going to do to help me over the phone. And then in emails, it was a completely different story. But what this officer did do to help me was he told me that the officer Gorman was charged before for assaulting somebody, and it ended up being a child. So now I catch wind of this, what Gorman did to this child and being charged. I found out I could order transcripts. That the charges got dismissed. So he got charged in 2017 and they get dismissed in 2019. I get the transcripts from the 2019 appearance. I think it was May 19th, 2019. And he got charged so I'll get into this in 2017. Around that time, I ordered transcripts about the assault on the child. What happened was, while Gorman was visiting MK Elementary School on September 20th, 2017, in the presence of teacher Kelly Keddy, an 11-year-old innocently sprayed Gorman with water. This makes Gorman turn into an aggressive and violent. He turns aggressive and he turns violent on the child. Gorman grabs the 11-year-old and drags him out of the classroom and into the hallway and then eventually into the bathroom. And this is all from the transcripts. Gorman, when first apprehending the child, he grabbed him by the hoodie and knocked him on the floor by kicking him off the medicine ball that the child was sitting on. In the washroom, the officer used his forearm to push the child, causing him to slam his head into the wall and hit the back of his head, giving the child a concussion, which the child said he felt a bump on his head. 3 8th grade students entered the washroom and Gorman sternly yelled at them to get out. Bernita Snatch, Cindy Minogue, who were assistant teachers, and Angela Johnson, the principal, were all witnesses and they never testified. They were witnesses to certain events that took about Gorman assaulting the child, and they never testified. After a meeting with the child, there was a meeting with the child, the mother, and Gorman with the principal. And then eventually, the child didn't speak up in the meeting. Gorman kind of dictated the events. The child didn't contest it. 11-year-old boy scared with his mom, the principal, police. He's intimidated. The child doesn't say anything. Eventually, the child tells the mother in privacy, I think at home, what really happened. The mother was furious and eventually reached out to CBC News for an article. Ultimately, the judge withdrew the assault charge because part of the reason withdrawing it was because the children's story wasn't credible. The judge stated while it is an ill-considered, intemperate, and unjustifiable decision to forcibly direct the 11-year-old into the washroom, I am left in a state of reasonable doubt that the assault occurred in the washroom as particularized by the Crown. Gorman, please stand up. You shall be found not guilty of the charge before the court. And that was from the Honorable Justice Victor Jurgas. So there is similarities. What Gorman did to that child in 2017 and what Gorman did to me at the end of 2022. We were both dragged. We were both grabbed by the hoodie. Gorman slammed both of our heads. Gorman gave both of us concussions. Gorman manipulated the teacher. Gorman manipulated the doctor. Gorman was still employed and is still employed. 4 of my charter rights were seriously violated from this incident. I was never told why I was under arrest. I was never given the chance to speak to a lawyer. The excessive force was so bad, I was put in the hospital with some permanent injuries. And scheduling the trial, scheduling the trial the way the Crown did caused significant delays and went well over 18 months. Okay? All of the big and little media companies refused to talk about this event in my life. They refused to talk about a violent, temperamental officer who is at it again, who is seriously injuring and hospitalizing someone they have wrongfully detained. But finally, one media news outlet took the chance to talk about my story, and that was Aurelia Matters. Gorman has never been disciplined for any of his actions. The Rama police, the OPP, and the Canadian taxpayers continue to support this officer who is not worthy to have the privilege to serve this province as a police officer. There needs to be real accountability for officers like Constable Gorman who assault, injure, and hospitalize citizens he detains. What happened to me was inhumane, it was cruel, and it was extreme excessive force. Police handling complaints against other police officers do not work. We've seen this. There's a pattern. There's a history. The liability, right? They're protecting liability. And really, when is there going to be real accountability? When it's obvious police officers are assaulting, injuring, and hospitalizing citizens. And especially in my situation, and even with this 11-year-old who is now 19, on both occasions, they were both caught on surveillance. And I don't know where to fathom how much this event has changed my life, how much trouble it's been, dealing with the courts, dealing with the Crowns, who at one point when I had those other lawyers and I had no lawyer, how much they would undermine and they would make it seem like they had this huge case against all this evidence. The evidence is there. I was assaulted, injured, and hospitalized. I was hogtied. I was blindfolded. I was dragged out of Casino Rama, being yelled at to stop resisting. If that wasn't bad enough, my head got driven into the concrete on surveillance. There's a pattern here of corruption and biasness, and there needs to be change. Constable Gorman needs to be removed as an officer. His police station needs to stop employing him on the the Canadian tax dollars dime. I wish that the OPP Professional Standards Bureau would have took my information more serious and not just relied on Rama Police to handle it. Like, how do you, like, look at that. Like, Rama Police, like, look what happened. They just sloughed me off. They dismissed my complaint. They never took it serious. They never spoke about the injuries I sustained during transportation. I got seriously injured. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like, you name it. This has affected me. And, you know, what's frustrating is that, you know, I reach out to all these investigative journalists, all these big media. They don't want to talk about it. You know, I'm really disappointed in CBC News, CTV News. I'm shocked Rebel News won't talk to me. The Toronto Star, who's it, Wendy Gillis? Who's the other fellow there? The Jamaican fellow. He won't talk to me. CTV News. I'm going to get into another video about an unsolved murder in my family that they keep talking about, but they don't have the decency to talk to me about that. This case, they won't talk to me about it. This has deeply affected my life and the remaining of my life that I got to endure this. And I just wish, you know, this is what they do. You know, this is just what they do. And this is just the start of my story, unless these parties that I'm up against are going to do the right thing and stop protecting this child beater cop. They're going to stop playing games, messing with my charter rights. You know, the complaints don't work. I'll get into that, about all the complaints I filed and how they're all protecting each other and trying to sweep this under the rug. And this is a major scandal that I'm involved in, that the media doesn't want the public to know. And why wouldn't the media want the public to know about an officer who is at it again, seriously injuring someone who's been detained? And the fact that he did this to an 11-year-old in front of adults, and he's doing it again, and no one wants to talk about it, and it's just, you know, I'm so thankful for my lawyers that I have, and I honestly need to talk about this. You know, this is like a journal for me, to talk about this honestly, civilly, how badly this has affected me, and the little help that I got. But the help that I'm getting, the support that I'm getting from the couple people that I am, the lawyers I got, I could not do this without them. And they are going to be praised one day. Either way, however this goes. But there needs to be accountability with this officer. And he does not deserve to serve as an officer in this province anymore. So I'm going to leave it at that. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for coming to my channel. Let's talk about it. And, you know, if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you can subscribe, if you can share, if you can comment. If there's anyone else out there that's dealt with police brutality or has been injured by the hands of this officer, please comment. Please let me know. You know, it's not right. And, you know, so I'm going to leave it at that and just thank you guys for watching.